World Rugby's Player of the Year nominations are out, folks, and stop the press as we have a prop. This is a minor victory in itself for all those guys in the low numbers, I feel, because Oxenche finally gets a prop nomination of decades and decades of waiting. A prop nomination is here at last. There's a hooker nominated as well in Malcolm Marx. There's a fair few South Africans nominated for awards, which is kind of unsurprising given the campaign that they've had. But let's take a quick look at some of the nominees, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on who you would have winning it. For the Breakthrough Player of the Year awards, there's 4 guys, all from different countries. Fabian Holland is our sole New Zealand representative from both categories. He's my favourite for the award, and I say that with obviously a hefty dose of New Zealand bias, but that guy's really come in from being outside the All Blacks to being a regular starter for the ABs and putting in really high performance levels. He's had at least one Man of the Match award, which is, again, I mean, he's not as bad as a prop, but as a lock, that can be pretty hard to do. Hard tackling guy. He's had like 9 starts, a couple from the bench. He's a big unit. He's taken a test rugby like a duck to water. Really happy with his nomination. Ethan Hooker for South Africa. Maybe not quite as many games as like Fabian Holland had, but he's had at least like 5 starts for the South Africans. Played in that key match against the All Blacks down in Wellington where they got a record victory and was carving it up. So certainly another worthwhile nominee. Then you have got Joseph Akuso-Suaalii from Australia, who I wasn't sure would be eligible because he played a bunch of tests at the end of last year. But I think you haven't been playing rugby for a full year since the nomination, so he's probably just snuck in by the cutoff. He's certainly played the most games. He's played a heap of games at 13 for the Australians under Joe Schmidt, played in the Big Lions tour. It's going to be a hard one for him because the Wallabies' performance levels in recent times have been on a bit of a downer. I'm not sure they've been getting the best out of him, but he is certainly, one of the kind of, to go from being, again, outside of the game to being a regular starter for your country is a big achievement in itself. And then Henry Pollock is there. He is a guy who certainly attracts a lot of headlines. He's kind of there as a bit of a super sub. I don't even think he's started a test match yet, but he's had a lot of impact. I think his debut, he got a couple of tries in the Six Nations. He's gone from basically being an under-20s guy to being a firm part of that England squad and went on a Lions tour, which shows you, kind of where he's at and where not just his own coach, but like other coaches think of him. My pick would be Holland, as I said, Kiwi bias in there, but I do think he's had a cracking year. Biases aside, I think if I looked at his stats, he'd have some really, really impressive numbers in terms of his line-out stuff and his defensive shifts in particular. So he has been a real find for the ABs this year, but we'll see how that one goes. Then there's Player of the Year, 1 Frenchman and 3 South Africans. BLBRA, I feel like is largely there because remember, they don't really take club form into account. It's basically just test match stuff. I don't know, maybe because they can't follow all the club rugby. It would be hard for there's a bunch of judges. Like, how much rugby do they watch? Probably not every club competition in the world, but BLBRA, fantastic year for club and country. Obviously in the Six Nations was virtually unplayable. His try-scoring record was incredible, and he did win Six Nations Player of the Year. Didn't go on tour to New Zealand, obviously, because he was being rested at the end of the top 14 season. Makes sense. That's a regular thing with the top 14 season running as long as it does. And then he's had a couple of tests where he's not been able to recapture that Six Nations form in the November test period. So recency bias maybe goes against BLBRA, but he was incredible in the Six Nations. And as I said, he already picked up an award for that. Peter Steff, to get a 3rd win would be incredible. And he's been Mr. Consistent, I think, pretty much all year. So part of me would love to see him get a win because he is just such a reliable player and not always doing the sexy stuff. Has been recognized in the past, though. I'm not sure if the 2 wins he's had in the past count against him here. If there's kind of a bit of a mentality like, well, he's already had it once before. Malcolm Marx has certainly come into some bloody good recent form as well. So in terms of the recency bias, maybe elevates his numbers a little bit. He's been very good for South Africa, and especially in the kind of end of the Rugby Championship and these November tests. And then Ox. I want Ox to win. He should have been nominated last year. We've never had props. Remember, like Tyke Furlong in 2018 didn't even get a nomination. I want Ox to win just for all those props out there who've never even got nominations. He's a devastating prop. Eats guys for breakfast or eats cake, doesn't he? But yeah, Ox. I would love to see Ox win it, and I feel like it would be a deserved win. I don't just say that because I want to see a prop win it. I genuinely feel like you have to be doing something incredible to even get yourself a nomination as a prop. He just demolishes guys, and that needs to be recognised. There are a bunch of omissions, I suppose, like Tyke Burns had a cracking year for Ireland. Fraser McCright on a losing team has been incredible for the Aussies. He's in that kind of Michael Hooper role where he just tends to look one of the best players on the park, but playing for a team which is not getting the results. The Argentinians can't get any love. The guys like Matera, Montoya, and Malia, like, they're all really good players, but they can't get nominated. I'm not sure if, like, Jack Morgan going on a Lions tour from that Welsh side would, get a nomination. Yeah, but I think whoever wins is going to be deserving. There's some pretty good names on that board, but you guys let us know your thoughts. Who would you be picking if you were picking them? How much do you go on recent success compared to stuff earlier in the year? Club form, as I said, I don't think they really take it into consideration, but like a guy like BLBRA winning the Champions Cup, certainly been a good year for him. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts on the nominees. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Subscribe if you haven't done so. We're like 500 people away from 100,000. But yeah, anyway, take care, folks. See you later.